Hey, welcome to the Inner Circle podcast, where growth minded leaders come together to build better businesses and better lives. I'm your host, Hector Alvarado. Here, we don't do theory, we share real lessons, real systems, and real strategies you can use right away. This is a community for people committed to growth, impact, and supporting each other on the journey. You're in the right room, my friends. Let's get started. So welcome everybody again back to the Inner Circle and our weekly call here. As we know, last week we touched on how you could be calculated in your AI approach and how you could save some time, which is amazing, right? Now, imagine this. Now you've done that, and now you go tell your team that you're going to be making some changes, that you're going to be saving 20 hours per week. Watch what happens next. And this is why we're joining this call today, because some will nod politely and ignore it. Some will smile at you and quietly update their resumes. And of course, others will actively resist. Why? Well, because you're approaching this, frankly, as a business problem. And they're experiencing it as an essential threat. And there's a big difference between the two. And so, this tool saves us time sounds to your team like you might not be needed soon. Today, we'll close that gap and we'll learn to address fear honestly. Involve your team in solution design and build champions who want AI to succeed because they see how it helps them, not replaces them. And that's such a key component of this trust factor piece. All right. Now, the reality is that there's a trust gap whenever we talk about new implementation. Just change a process in your company today, and you're going to have pushback based on trust. Now, add AI to this and this becomes really a challenge, right? And the reality is that in 2026, data shows 45% of small business workers worry about adopting too much AI because they believe it could harm the company reputation. That's a legitimate concern. And 30% today will act more joyous about AI in front of their colleagues than they truly feel. That means that they're faking it. That means that people will show excitement when they really don't mean to be excited about it. In fact, they really don't like it. And 22%, there's one of us in the room, right? 22% of individual contributors view AI as having anti-worker sentiment. Because here's the kicker. Here's something that we don't really think about. But when you hear a manager, or you hear leaders, talk about, hey, AI saved me or saved the role X amount of hours. And on average, we're finding that most leaders and managers get around 7 hours per week of improvement. Okay. While individual contributors only save around 3.5 hours. And so this inequity breeds resentment. And the belief is AI helps leadership, not us, the frontline worker. So that's a real concern. And of course, is that AI is not fail safe. AI does make mistakes, right? And so because it does make some mistakes, there's people that are reluctant to using it because of the errors that it makes. And we know that it's not a perfect tool, but that's because they don't trust it. And so what happens again is another factor that the team resists. And so it sits unused. People will just not use it. So our goal today is that by the end of this call, you'll understand why teams resist AI. And it's not that they're being irrational. Okay. You'll implement a four-phase trust building process, which will help you in your launch of AI initiatives, right? And then we'll specifically address concerns like job losses, privacy, and complexity, because those are like three key points in AI pushback. And we'll jump on those head on. All right. So why do teams resist AI? There's 5 primary reasons. Reason number 1, it's pretty straightforward. It's fear of job loss. They're thinking if AI can do my job, why do they need me? Right? Like that's obvious. I've had that thought. I'm human. It's going to go through my brain. But the reality is that only 8% of companies so far worldwide have reduced roles due to AI in 2025. Only 8%. 69% didn't reduce any roles. They actually used it to streamline work in removing repetitive tasks. They didn't eliminate jobs, they actually used it for growth initiatives because they found that that time saved allowed for efficient growth opportunities. So the fear exists because for decades, from like, we're going back to the 60s, 70s, and through all of those time frames, anytime anybody said automation, it yield replacement of workers. And that messaging is what's creating this fear. And it's all over. You hear it from media focusing on job loss stories, not on efficiency and growth. And the mistakes that leaders are saying is that they go out to their teams and they say, "Hey, don't worry, you don't worry about losing your job," without addressing why they believe they might. And that is a critical component of addressing fear and resistance. So that's reason one. Reason two is fear of control and autonomy. So here's what they're thinking: I've mastered my role, and now you're changing everything. So think of that long tenured employee. Think of those big companies and organizations that have built foundation. And now all these people are thinking, I'm going to look incompetent because you're changing everything on me, right? But the reality is that their expertise that they built for years is feeling threatened. And learning new tools feels like they're admitting like that they don't know something. So again, put your human hat back on and put a view from their perspective. You could see that pride and identity are tied to being the expert. And so the mistake that leaders make is positioning AI as making you better. And it sounds like you weren't good enough to begin with. So you have to, think about the impact in how you're communicating this. Now, reason number three is additional work initially. What they're thinking is, I'm already busy and now I have to learn this too. The reality is, yes, for the first 2 to 4 weeks, AI adoption is extra work. I can tell you just from experience, I'm sure all of you that have been playing with AI have found that you've had to put extra time of your day to that tool. You don't just plug in and open it up and you're a master at it. You have to go learn it. So you do have to accept the fact that there is a learning curve and that it's real. Setup time is real. And they're right to be frustrated. They're right. When you hear the pushback, it's correct. But the mistake that leaders are making today is that they're focusing on that this will save you time while ignoring that a month one of rollout is actually harder, not easier. So that's reason number three for pushback. All right. Number four is distrust of quality and accuracy. And we had someone earlier just say, like, hey, that's me, right? I don't trust that it's accurate. And so what they're thinking is that AI will make mistakes and you, the human, you'll be blamed, right? But the reality is AI does make mistakes. Now, we've said that they give you wrong answers, they put bad output. But if they're accountable for the results, they're right to be skeptical, right? If that human is the one that owns the output, then they're going to be skeptical. However, what they're really thinking here is that their reputation is on the line. And so the mistake that we make as leaders is not establishing clear review processes and accountability structures. So what we say is, go use AI, it's going to make you faster. The human says, well, what if it's wrong? You're right. But it's not the AI's fault if it's wrong. It's you who needs to verify the information because you still have accountability to your role. Just pushing AI faster, AI results faster, won't be the right structure. You're going to need to vet it. You're going to need to make sure it's accurate and then submit it because we won't accept crappy AI output going to a customer or internally, right? So, like being ahead of that is critical. And the fifth reason that you get pushback from organizations is privacy and ethical concerns. And what they're thinking is, are we actually putting client data into any just random AI tools? What about privacy restrictions, right? Is this legal? Is it ethical? All of that comes through people's heads. And they're right because 35% cite data privacy as their top concern. This is what feedback that is coming back out there. And many AI tools train on, they're not trained to give you output unless you give it input. That means unless you share information with it. So compliance regulatory organizations out there are right to make sure that we question that. And so the mistakes that leaders are making is that they don't have clear AI usage policies before you roll this out. So what I'm saying is go put together your framework of what you will allow and what you won't allow. So think of it very much like back in the 90s when a little thing called the internet was created. And some of you might be too young to remember that time. Some of us, unfortunately, were here at that time. And what happened was that there was an internet policy that was rolled out in workplaces. And it was like, hey, don't go to this site, don't go to that site, don't click on this. It created the framework in which you had your sandbox and you knew your sidelines. Like, don't go to those special sites, guys. Don't do this, right? Because you knew that, hey, that was not ethical. That was not right. And so this now has to be put together for AI. Similarly, we have to have a clear policy internally before we roll it out. So one of the things at OBS and through my teachings here is that we always like to find an equation for these tools. And I found one even for this, and it's called the trust equation. So for those team members to adopt AI, we have to look at trust equals your perceived benefit to them divided by perceived threat to them times leadership transparency. So I don't know what that means, but I thought I'd give you an equation. I thought I'd make it funny for everybody. But the reality is that what it's trying to tell you is that if your perceived benefit is low and the perceived threat is high, just by organically thinking that way, well, guess what? You're going to have zero trust. It's quite common, right? It's common sense if you think about it in those terms. Now, if the trust level is low, but the benefit is high, now that might have a chance. That could potentially live, right? And so it's understanding how you view the implementation of the tool or why it's getting used and how it's going to be accepted. That's the real equation. You, as the human, have to make that judgment and call, okay, I'm going to roll this tool out. It's going to save this. It's going to cost this. It's going to cost this in cost associated, total cost with time, implementation, training, monthly fee, etc. So having that knowledge is going to close the gap for when you get the pushback internally. And so knowing that that is your path to attack this is critical because that's how you're actually going to get buy-in. So don't go in all gung ho on maybe something that it's not going to yield you the best results. Like I wouldn't go to, a company now and be like, hey, you need to be using the free version of Chat GPT. Like go to Chat GPT because like I'm not a fan of Chat GPT anymore. Like I don't think it's all that great. It makes tons of mistakes. It's really crappy output, but I'll sell you high on Claude. Like I'll be, like I'll do that today. And so it's knowing where to go and how to deliver it. Okay. Now there are 4 phases to building trust. And so phase 1 is having that honest conversation. And when you have this is before you implement any AI tool. Do not try to have an honest conversation afterwards because it's like anything else when you're doing trust building. You get ahead of it, not after it. Okay? So you want to acknowledge the fear and share the reality. Set expectations. All of that comes in that first conversation. So step 1 is acknowledging the fear, and don't say there's nothing to worry about. Don't say that, because the reality is that I know AI feels threatening, and let's talk about it honestly, because it is something that we should discuss, and talk about what's uncomfortable about AI, and if it's about replacing jobs, well, you might be wondering if that's going to happen in this business or here, and talk about that directly and address it and just be like, my plan is not to cut jobs, it's to get efficient so we could grow, right? And just be open and transparent about it. Now, if you're actually looking at it because you're in a position where you need to cut jobs, well, that might be, that time of conversations that you might need to have as well. And just say, look, we're looking to streamline. Our operating costs are too high, and we might need to decide where this goes. So I'm being open and honest with you about it. Now, if you are effective, you produce great output, and you learn to be an AI expert, well, why would I want to lose you? Obviously, I want to keep you here. So positioning in a way that maybe has a carrot for the individual to chase is a better angle than just flat out saying, don't worry about it. Okay. The second step here is to share the real data. Now, I shared that with you earlier, but the reality is that only 8% so far worldwide have actually reduced roles due to AI. So, like, that's a very small number. That's in single digits. Now, that could change, as months and years progress, but today, that's what the data tells us. And 69% of them, like, were actually looking to grow instead of shrinking. That was their initiative for AI, was not to go look to shrink. So, be honest about that and be open to the fact that things will change. Don't shy away from saying that things won't change, but don't be promising that things won't, and don't lie to people. However, do tell them that what will change is the manual input. We're going to look to be more streamlined, we're looking to be more efficient. Your expertise and judgment that we value, that's not going anywhere. The client relationships that you've built, we still need that. So we're not eliminating that. We're just pivoting to doing tasks that are more efficient, right? And then what you're really looking for here as we progress into phase two is involve your team. Like, get them to buy in. And how do you do that? Well, you have that conversation, you bring them in, you show the opportunities internally and why you need this. And in the business term, in the business world, we have a term, we call it like create the burning platform. So essentially, like, have them jump off the platform because it's burning, right? In this case, it's make the case for AI enough that they'll jump off that burning platform. Involve them in how this gets put together and get them to co-create the solution, right? Don't say we're implementing this AI tool, learn it. That just it's top down, like you're dropping it on them. But do say, listen, like, we have email responses currently that are taking 6 hours a week. Let's find an AI tool together that is going to reduce that. Simple. We have a bottleneck of activity, and let's be efficient. Okay. That's your sort of step two into that phase two approach. And the third phase is train and empower them. Allow the rollout to be systematically in place so that you can actually have learning. Do not put a rollout to where you're expecting results and pressuring results right off the bat. Meaning, don't show them to them on Monday and by next Monday be expecting already X amount of hours reduced and improvements all over. No, 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 no. Instead, take this approach, create a day. And like what my sort of research has found is they call it AI Friday model, and maybe suggest that every Friday take 1 hour in the afternoon and devote 1 hour for those that you've selected to be your internal AI champions. So let me back up. You go get your champions first. That means that you select individuals internally that will lead this initiative. That, number one, they see the value. Number two, they're engaged. And number three, they fully trust what you're trying to do. Those become your internal champions. And then you provide the framework where they go train and learn. And you give them that Friday afternoon, say, hey, go from 1 to 2 p.m. and go play. Go play in your digital sandbox and go make things. And, of that hour, give them 30 minutes to try the tool, and then give them 20 minutes to share their wins, share what they've learned, share what they've created, and then have around 10 minutes or so to celebrate those wins, but document the learnings in an ongoing sort of table of activity that you can then go back to reference to share with the greater organization about the projects that you're working on. What's important here is show the wins, because that really becomes the critical engagement phase. When you show the wins weekly, you're going to have people organically get curious. They're going to say like, "Hey, how come Sarah is getting all these shout outs? How come Tom over there's getting shout outs and rewarded? Because he just automated expense reports and he went from like 5 hours in this manual task to 30 minutes. Hey, that's pretty cool." If you think about it, put yourself in a room of humans and all of a sudden someone keeps getting shout out for doing something good. What does that naturally do to you? Like, I'm a pretty competitive person, so I'm gonna say like, hey, how do I get some of that? How do I start getting shout outs? How do I start positioning myself to get some of those wins? So that naturally creates this sort of like, oh, I need to learn it. It pushes momentum towards exploring and being open to going and learning this new thing. And so that all of that to say is that we have to be strategic in how we build trust through going at this approach. Now, I told you that there was going to be 5 common specific concerns, right? I'm going to share with you the 5 most common questions that will come to you at your job the moment you start talking about AI. The first one is, will I lose my job? That's going to be the very first one you're going to hear. And a good answer is no, you're not going to lose your job. In fact, only 8% of companies have reduced their role due to AI in 2025. I've said that now 10 times. So with the mission for you to get it, right? And so that you could go back to your teams and say that. And 69% of them, in fact, they didn't reduce roles, they grew. They were looking to grow their company. And so our plan here is not to shrink, but to grow the business, right? And so that's how you answer that first question, that first concern. The second one is, I don't understand this technology. So a good answer to that is, you don't need to understand how it works. You need to know how to use it, right? Like, think of it like driving a car. You don't need to know how the engine functions. You just need to be able to drive that vehicle safely and by the laws. That's all you need to worry about. You don't need to know how the combustion engine works and the integral parts of it. I don't know how that is. So similarly, that's AI and technology. Don't worry about what you can't control. Worry about what you can, and that is your ability to learn and apply your learnings. Okay. The third concern is, it feels like extra work. You're right. It does. From the first 2 to 6 weeks, it will be extra work, Bob. The learning curve is real. We're not going to deny it. There's a setup time that it takes, and I'm not going to pretend otherwise. But here's what I'm asking of you, Bob, is I want you to invest 5 hours over the next month. If it doesn't save you at least 10 hours after that, then we stop. That's the answer. That's how you overcome it. Because maybe that was not the right tool for the problem that Bob had. So it's being able to address those concerns head on. The fourth one is about data privacy and security. And a good answer to this is, great question. Here's our AI policy. Because we were ahead of it, we created the policy, and we only use AI tools that don't train on our data. We never put our clients' confidential into AI, and we never put financial or personal data into the tools. We do use AI for marketing, drafting content, research, and analysis of public data, right? So if you're ever unsure, please just come see us and we'll talk about what goes into the AI tools, what's allowed and what's not allowed. Pretty clear. And the fifth concern is, what if AI makes a mistake and I'm blamed? Good answer is AI will make mistakes. You're right. It's guaranteed. Yeah, ChatGPT will give you the wrong answer. And in fact, then it'll even tell you that you're great at finding the error because that's what it does, right? It'll reassure you that, hey, you're so smart. You did see that mistake. Yeah, it's true. But here's the rule, right? Bob, you're still responsible for reviewing what AI puts out before it goes to a client, before it gets shared. So remember that the rule is AI drafts, you edit. So you are the one that will verify. AI suggests, but you decide, right? Just think of it as a really smart intern. It's an assistant. They're there to help you, but it still requires some oversight that's needed. And if a mistake happens because you didn't review it, well, that's on you, right? Because you're the one that knows better. You're the one that has the experience and expertise, right? So that's what we're looking for. Now, if you reviewed it and it still got through, we'll need to fix it together, but there's clear accountability. And that's how we build really trust through using AI, because we know that we have tons of humans that we have to go teach and convince. So, what we'd like to do here is give you the 5 key takeaways from today. And that's that resistance is rational. You truly have to discuss the fear of losing jobs, loss of control, and the extra work that comes through this. And so like that's open and honest. You have to go through that. Now, I gave you an equation, but the reality is that you have to be able to dissect and understand the benefit and the threat to the individual and be transparent about that. Be able to communicate the personal benefit and minimize the threat to credibility, because the equation was equals trust. So trust equals benefit to them divided by threat to them times transparency, which really is momo jumbo for just be transparent and see the highs of the value to implementing and don't shy away from it. And the third takeaway is that there is a 4 phase process to rolling out AI. And that's honest conversation, involve your team, train and empower them, and show them the wins. Through those 4 phases, you will get engagement. If you're consistent in application of those 4 phases, the pushback won't be as real. You'll still have it, but you'll be able to overcome it and be able to really implement as you intend it to, right? Involve, don't mandate. Let your team identify pain points on their own and choose their solutions. And the fifth takeaway is that you will need your internal AI champions. Do not let it go top down. It's so much better in any organization. And this is not just AI, but it's implementing any change process. When it's peer influence, it always beats boss mandates. Always. So show the wins every week, right? Show the wins, call out specific people and specific improvements, and the curious human minds will start to engage. And that is the critical point to implementation. So, through week 1, we showed you the ROI to AI and why and how you determine your best approach to AI implementation, right? So you've built a team that's ready to buy in now. And next week, we're going to actually start to implement. So let's get ready for what's coming. All right. Now, I'll pass it back to you, Alan. But before I do, just remember, right, that if your team won't use it, then you've got nothing at all. So build your trust, and we'll look forward to taking you through a pilot project through week 3. All right, Alan, back to you.
Wow. Well, that's a lot. I'm looking forward to the next week too. It's like, wow, an actual pilot project, that you're going to walk us through next week. That's
We'll
actually
do a
kind of,
live demo. We'll actually
yeah,
go through a live tool and play with it as a group. We'll show you how it works.
that's exciting. I wrote down five reasons why people resist and offer pushback. I
Hmm.
wrote down five most common questions and how to answer those. And then there's the four phases to build trust. Good stuff
Yeah.
today. Good stuff today. I hope you all took some notes.
So
That blew my mind.
did we hit on your concerns, Alan? Like you had a concern and then you were like wondering, you're like, well, how was like because if we, you're like, you and I are really in that demographic that would push back the hardest,
Hmm. Yeah.
right?
I love how you said, and it made so much sense to me where, years ago in a bygone era where, robotics, assembly line, stuff came on stream and it did replace people. And so
Hmm.
now we have this AI technology coming on. And so the understanding that we have because we've never been nobody said anything else to us and the messaging from media is kind of the same message. Oh, it's going to replace us. It's going to replace
Hmm.
replace you. And so yeah, there's this great fear about that. Yeah, for me it was about not necessarily, oh, I'm going to be replaced, but the fear of control and autonomy really spoke to me.
Hmm.
It blew my mind, and we're gonna hear from everybody else too, but it blew my mind that when you said only 8% uh, worldwide, as the
Yeah,
stats stay today are today, that only 8% of companies actually decreased, a workforce because of AI, and 69% increased uh, that grew their business
that's
in
right.
addition of AI. So yeah, who would have guessed? I would have never guessed that. Really, really, really great stuff. Really great stuff. I, of course, then in my field is, in the kind of the speaker uh, world. Um,
Yeah.
I always thought I kind of had a bad attitude coming in. I thought, well, what credibility would I ever give anybody as a professional speaker or a trainer to just go, you know what? This isn't even my own stuff anymore. I'm just going to let AI generate my speech. I thought, you have no credibility with me. You're an idiot, and I won't pay attention to you. And so I love how the fact was, and I thought, AI is just going to dumb us down. It's just going to make a stupid generation stupider, if that's even
Yeah.
English. But anyway, so I love how you address the fact that AI drafts and suggests, but it's up to me to edit and review. And then for it tells me it's
Yeah,
also up to me to say, yeah, these are my ideas, or it's not, or it sounds like me, or it doesn't, or this is my philosophy, or it doesn't, based on what my inputs are. So
that's
yeah,
right.
yeah, good. I love it.
Absolutely. And that's critical. And I'll tell you as as a user of AI, because I have to use it to really, maximize my time. I am often having full input conversations with AI, like full. It might give me a response and I'll be like, no, you're an idiot. Like that doesn't work. You need to go this route. Like this is what I mean. And we have full on arguments sometimes with the bots that I have working for me. I call them, they work for me.
Yeah.
And that's what we do. But I certainly I use it for research purposes all the time.
And I'm gonna be the last thing I say, and then I'm gonna open it up to Bryson and James and I don't know where, Peter's in La La Land somewhere, but he's here. And then I don't know who No Limit is. I didn't see the face when they came on who No Limit is. But anyway, I apologize for that. But it's so that cracks me up, Hector, when you say that, because I've been getting so mad sometimes at AI when I've attempted to begin to use it. And now I haven't paid any subscriptions. So, I've kind of been on the Chat GPT mostly and stuff. And I get mad at it because it's not good enough for me. And so I actually tell it off like, you're an idiot, you're stupid, you got to do better than that, or I'm going to replace you with a different AI platform. And then it actually apologizes to me, goes, you're right, I should do better. And it gives me better. It's hilarious.
Now, one thing I will tell you this, like pay for the $24 subscription
Okay,
because
okay.
it's worth it. It is worth it. The free tools is where they use their test
Hmm,
platforms on. And
got it.
so you are essentially helping them build their tools when you're using it for free. So I
Okay.
would really encourage anybody who's listening, go pay the $24. If you don't find it useful, then you can cancel anytime. It's not a contract,
Okay.
right? But but you're going to get better results by getting the actual paid version of it, right? And
Yeah.
there's other free ones that are decent. Like Manus is one that's a free one that I would still use over Chat GPT if you're just looking for free stuff, right? So that let's go around the room. Maybe
Yeah,
Willie,
that's
we'll start with you. Let's see if you had any input and what are your thoughts on this AI stuff.
Yeah, for sure. That's something that we have definitely used a lot in getting everything built out, even like just getting stuff structured, how we can use our CRM program to our websites, all that stuff. We're using AI all the time now. And but like you said, it makes mistakes. So one thing we've seen, we have to check everything. So that's and then yeah, for social media now, we're learning like making posts and stuff. Manus or however you say it,
Yeah,
it
Manus, yeah.
is a lot better at designing stuff. Yeah.
Yes. Yep.
So, so yeah, using that for designing, and we're doing all our proposals on AI now on Claude, basically.
Mhm.
So all our proposals are made on there now, and
Yeah.
it's so quick and it helps us. Like when I read our proposals, it's selling for us and how it's written, right?
Yeah. And that's, from a documentation tool, Claude is amazing. Like really, really strong.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah,
wondering on
and
that.
then
This,
there's just all the time I'm trying to figure something out and I'm not thinking about, oh, let's just put it in chat or and see what that gives me for information, and then you do it and instantly you got the answers. Like
Right.
it's training our the ourselves is the biggest thing I think in this, is that AI is there for us to help us if we need something.
Now think about it in like, from now a user perspective, like in your teams, because you have a marketing company, you have other
Yeah.
companies that you're involved in. What kind of pushback are you getting from those? Like if I was a marketing guy who I've been doing this for 20 years and all of a sudden I'm being told, your creative juices that you've had for 20 years, like put that on the shelf, go use AI now. Are you finding any of that?
Oh yeah, we have had a lot of pushback. One employee is already not with the company anymore that did not like AI. And
Yeah.
and we're a small marketing company, but we're looking to hire now some more people, and that is going to be on the top of the list. Are you yeah, willing to learn AI tools is definitely a question.
And so like look at your case, your case example here. AI didn't push that person out. It was their
Yeah,
resistance to learning AI that caused them to exit.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, and their mind is set is kind of it's it looks to AI or whatever the case, right? And it's no, it doesn't look good enough. I can do it better, and then they spend 3 hours trying to design something. And
Yeah.
yeah, no, it's but no, and then I kept saying over like it's getting better by the day almost, and now from what I see our CrateX posts, all that, the picture posts are all designed on Manus, and you wouldn't tell that, or like they look pretty sharp, I would say.
Yeah. Like the ones for OBS that I'm seeing now. I don't know if those are by
Yeah.
Manas too.
So that is actually a good question because we have a Filipino team, and not sure how much they're using AI for that.
Oh, it sounds like an issue for our L10 meeting.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Excellent, excellent. Well, it's good. Let's open it up. That's a wrap for today's episode of The Inner Circle. If something in today's conversation resonated, inspired you, or gave you a breakthrough, please share it with someone you care about. The right idea at the right time can change someone's business and their life. So make sure you follow the show, leave a review, and stay connected with us because this community is built on relationships, real support, and real growth together. Remember that clarity means nothing without action. So choose one insight from today, put it into motion this week, and notice the shift. Thank you for being part of this journey, for showing up for your growth, and for being part of the Inner Circle community. See you in the next episode, and let's keep growing together.